Assalamualaikum and good morning semua. My name is Nurul Sahada Nabila binti Samsuri and my student ID is 052051000004 and I'm from batch N5A. Today I will present my individual assignment entitled Natural Disaster in Malaysia. In this present, I will explain 4 things and a summary of my topic, how I organize my assignment, the sources I use, and the challenge I face while completing the assignment. Today I'm going to start my present with summary of the topic. The topic I selected is flood in Malaysia, which is one of the most common natural disasters in the country. Flood occurs almost every year, especially during the northeast monsoon season from November to March. In my assignment, I explain the meaning of natural disaster and introduce the different type of natural disaster that occur in Malaysia. Although Malaysia also experienced landslide, haze, and earthquakes, but floods are the most frequent and have the greatest impact on society. Then I also discuss the 214 and until 215 Malaysian flood, one of the worst floods in the country history. More than 3 million people were evacuated and the thousands of homes, school, road and public facilities were damaged. The disaster caused huge economic loss and disrupted the daily life of many Malaysians. Next, I also explain the cause of flooding. The main cause include heavy rainfall during the monsoon season, overflowing river, rapid urbanization, deforestation, poor drainage system, and climate change. These factors decrease the likelihood and severity of floods. I also describe the activity that should be carried out before, during, and after a flood. Before a disaster, monitor weather forecasts and no evacuation routes. During a flood, people should follow instructions from the authorities and move the safe place. After the flood, the government and community work together to restore public service and rebuild damaged area. And finally, I explain the lesson learned from flood and recommend way to reduce future disasters, such as improving drainage system, protecting forests, strengthen flood warning system, and increasing public awareness. Overall, this assignment helped me understand that although floods cannot be complete, prevent proper planning and cooperation can greatly reduce the impact. Next, I'm going to talk about how I organize my assignment. To make my assignment clear and systematic, I divide it into several sections. I started with the introduction, where I explain the meaning of natural disaster and introduce flood in Malaysia. The second section was the main content in this section. I presented a real case study of the 214 until 215 Malaysian flood. Explain the cause of floods and discuss the activity that should be carried out before, during and after disaster. And the section was recommendation. Here I discussed the lesson learned from floods and suggested action that both the government and the public can take to reduce flood risks. In the end, with the conclusion where I summarize the main point and emphasize the importance of disaster preparedness and environmental conservation. This organization helped present the information in a logic order, making it easier for reader to understand. We go to the origin of my reference. For this assignment, I used three main academic references to ensure that my report is accurate and reliable. The first reference is rainfall analysis of the Kelantan Yellow Flood 214 by Alias and his colleagues, published in the journal Technology, Science and Engineering in 2016. I used the article to understand the rainfall patterns that cause the severe flooding in Kelantan and to explain why the 214 flood become one of the most worst flood in Malaysia. And second, for my next reference is Flash Flood Hotspot Mapping in Kuala Lumpur by Yusuf and Thomas. Published in the Malaysia Journal of Tropical Geography in 221. This article helped me understand the locations that are most vulnerable to flash floods and how mapping can help authorities improve flood planning and disaster management. And the third of my reference is analysis of site suitability of evacuation area of flood disaster by Termizi and Asri, published in 2016. I used this study to explain the importance of selecting safe evacuation in contrast and how proper planning can improve emergency response during flood disaster. I select the reason I chose this reference because they are academic publication written by researcher. They provide reliable and evidence beside information, which helped me complete my assignment with accurate fact and a better understanding of flood disaster in Malaysia. For my last slide, the most challenging aspect is challenge was that my internet is where connection was sometimes slow, which made it difficult to access journal article and download the information I needed. This caused the research process to take longer than I expected. I also have to compare information from different reference because sometimes Sources explain the flood disaster in a different way. Therefore, I read each source carefully and selected the most relevant, accurate information for my assignment. And also organizing a large amount of information into a clear and logical structure while avoiding plagiarism was also challenging. I made sure to rewrite the information in my own word and properly cite all the reference that I use. Despite the challenge, I gained valuable knowledge about floods in Malaysia and improved my research, academic writing, and critical thinking skills. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.